Hello and welcome to Quizzy Monday. It's been another packed Monday. Hey, taken a little bit by surprise by the fact Mastermind is going on a break for the next couple of weeks. It's only just arrived and then they're going to be taking it away from us. Anyway, lots of great quizzing action to pick over tonight. And we've got a couple of great guests. We've got Gareth Aubrey. He was an early contestant on Only Connect, and he's also been on University Challenge. So we'll bring Gareth on in a second. And we've also got Emma Laslett, a recent finalist in the Mastermind Grand Final and a phenomenal Only Connect player. So both of them have got a lot of experience of what we're going to be talking about tonight. So without further ado, I'm going to welcome them to the stream. Hello, Gareth. Hello, Emma.
Hello.
How are we all doing this evening?
well, having come on as the Mancunian representative, I'm a little slightly deflated after a loss, but it could have been much worse. It really could have been much worse. But not too bad, and good to be here.
Yeah, and Emma, good to see you as well.
Yes, it's nice to be here as the People Not Named Gareth representative.
Yes, indeed. It's a little bit of an exclusive club, but we thought we'd let somebody else in. We've got our first comment, and our first comment is from Grace, our friend from America, saying, I'm sure it's a lovely week, like always, not too sure as I'm busy getting ready for my first day of school on Thursday. Oh, God, I'm not so ready. Grace, what better way to get ready for going back to school than talking about quiz shows with some quizzy nerdy types. So you are most welcome as always. And if you want to put a comment in the YouTube comments, then please feel free to do so, and we can bring them on stream just like that. So tell us what you thought of Mastermind, of University Challenge, and of Only Connect. Let's start with Mastermind. Week 2 of Clive Myrie. Emma, what do you make of the new era, having been somebody who experienced quite a lot of the last era, one way or another?
Yeah, no, I am absolutely loving it. Both, like, I'd say he's great in comparison to John Humphreys, but I would also say that's not a high bar. But I would also say he's great as a host, and I'm really loving his hosting style.
Absolutely. What about you, Gareth?
It felt, it felt pared down. It felt like it's still a couple of weeks in, and they've simplified it a little. But it needs that. And as a new host, I think you need that pared downess. And I thought he was fine and didn't get in the way of anything, which I think is the main thing you can ask for. If the host doesn't get in the way of the format, then you're doing well.
Absolutely. I mean, for me, it was kind of like, last week he was great, and maybe we all wanted him to be great, and therefore the kind of the expectations were there, and we were being very generous. But actually, listening and watching it again tonight, it's like, no, his diction is so clear, his reading is good. It just felt like as a player experience that it'd be really good to be sitting in that chair opposite him.
I thought it was interesting. There was a discussion in Quizland earlier about the running order of shows, and as people making the point that you tend to put a good show on first once you've recorded a set, put a good show on first, and then maybe put your weaker shows on second or third. I mean, I think if that's one of the weaker shows, then I think that it should be a pretty good should be a pretty good series.
And it was. I mean, it was. Compared with last week, which was a good show for different reasons. I mean, a very emotional show with the finale last week, but this time we had 4 very solid specialist subject rounds, and that's heartening to see. Some good scoring there.
We had some stats right at the start. I noted the continuity announcer leading us in started off with telling us that they were 4 very different specialist subjects. It was important to point that out.
As if we wouldn't spot that. I mean, that they were Blandings on again. I can't remember how many times it's been on, but I certainly know it was in a semi-final that I was in. And if Nick Reed is watching, stop grinning, Nick. The Blandings novels, Seattle Seahawks. I mean, he aced that subject.
Well, that was the one. I mean, that was very much the one I was sitting there waiting for. I was thinking, I'm going to be nowhere on Blandings. I'm going to be nowhere on Beyonce, sadly. But the Seattle Seahawks should be in my wheelhouse. And in fairness to them, they made it properly specialist. I mean, I thought half the questions there. You know, I claim to be someone with reasonable American football knowledge for a Brit, but there was a lot there that you really did need to know the Seattle Seahawks. It wasn't just things you could pick up from just knowing the NFL in general. So it was a good specialist subject from that, and 13 on it. So can't fault his performance.
And I think he was quite a slow and steady answerer. Listening to the whole question, answering in his time. Maybe that cost him a question or so, but he got 13 out of 13. You can't really knock that. Great performance by Brian. Ian Wang, who we know from University Challenge, he had a good specialist subject on Beyonce, and I think back to your point, Gareth, about specialist subjects for lowbrow. They've quite clearly made them as tough and as challenging as every other subject, which is absolutely how it should be. That maybe there was a time when people might view popular culture subjects as an easy option, but that's not the case anymore. There was tough stuff in there, like Spanish pronunciations of alternative versions of Beyonce songs and stuff.
I did think that that was the one adjudication I noticed, and it was very noticeably dubbed. The correction of the pronunciation of the of whatever that song is.
I mean, it was really just a difference of emphasizing the right vowels, I guess, which is understandable.
I think the way I read it was it was close enough to give, but also far enough off that they didn't want to be deluged by letters or emails from annoyed people saying that wasn't quite right, you gave him that. So to dub that in showed actually we've considered it and we're allowing it, which for me is fine. I think it's a fair adjudication. There was another one where some people were complaining on Twitter that I think it was Ian got an extra question, right on the buzzer. Might not have been Ian.
Yes, he Clive was like one word into the question when the buzzer went.
And again, for me, that's the sort of thing where they will play it through and then they will look back at the VT and they will see had he started by the time the buzzer went, and make sure to be fair to everybody that it's right, and then kind of edit it if need be. But clearly they viewed that was right. So.
Oh no, we didn't need VAR for it. I don't think. I wasn't appealing for that one. That was all right.
No. I mean, sometimes I think these things to me revealed some of the inner workings, some of the actual. We want to be fair and we want to be seen to be fair, so we're going to check this stuff, which I don't mind at all. We did have. I mean, Emma, was there anything that particularly stood out to you from the Mastermind show in terms of questions or performances?
Well, I think as much as anything, I think it's the thing I always pull out with Mastermind is how important kind of speed and really kind of squeezing the answer in as quickly as possible is, because I did think that's the main thing Ian stood out on the general knowledge, because he obviously wasn't in the league coming out of the specialist subjects, and I don't know if kind of in terms of hit rate how much better his performance was in the general, but there's a certain amount of quizzing technique in just being able to see where the end of the question's coming and just be straight in there with an answer, unlike, like you said, the guy who won the specialist subject then was a lot more kind of methodical with it.
Ian got 12 out of 18 of his general knowledge questions. He got one more general knowledge question than Brian. So again, that speed of answering could have been the difference. As it turned out, he won by 2, but he also had a little bit of kind of thinking as well, Ian, at points, which, without that, with a quick answer, correct or not, could have gained him a couple of extra questions. Brian never really got that head of steam, and he felt he's in his general knowledge. He had a four incorrect answers on the bounce, which just killed any momentum that he was going to be getting, which was unfortunate for him.
I thought Brian as well. He had the most. He had the most sort of quizzery type questions. He had the question on Juneteenth, which is a slightly quizzer biased question, and then the Jane Asher baking the cake question, which is chestnutty for quizzes, I think, but not necessarily for someone who hasn't been in that world for a while. So I thought he had more of that than some of the others. The other one that really jumped out at me was Laura having the description of the Balkans as a peninsula. You could see it really stopped her in her tracks.
Yeah,
I think we'd think of it more as mountains, but I mean it is technically a peninsula, and the question's not wrong in that sense. But
again, Laura just never really got going. She got one right, one wrong, one right, couple wrong, couple right, and she just couldn't get going. But she got some good answers in there. I think one thing I noticed, and we're talking about Juneteenth, and there was Windrush. There was some very conscious kind of diversity in curriculum, which I thought was good, and as it should be. And obviously, we know there's still a way to go. But again, that it wasn't. They weren't afraid to kind of stray from the formula, which many times in Mastermind hasn't been the case. So again, I think that's very welcome. And then the only other two things, which you don't like to talk about wrong answers, but the Queen Mother giving birth in the 21st century one was unfortunate. But I mean, people were going off on one about it on Twitter, and I'm thinking, but I've given silly answers in the past on Mastermind just to avoid passing. Yeah. So that could have been what was going on there. And then Ian just getting floored by the rugby union question, which will have had people screaming. But again, if you don't know rugby union, and maybe you've seen rugby sevens and you're thinking, well, is it a little bit more, a little bit less or something? I don't know. It was unfortunate, but other than that, I thought they all acquitted themselves very well. What do we think then? Ian's chances in the semi-final. Think he's got a decent chance, Emma?
I'd say he's got a strong chance, just both on that performance and I've seen him in enough other things and just at kind of circuit events and everything. And I rate him as a quizzer, so I'd say he's got a solid chance. Good,
yeah. No, I think he showed enough there. I think as you were talking, Emma, about kind of the quiz know-how or the quiz show know-how, the poise, he wasn't ruffled. He was just, knocking him in, as he did, and he didn't get thrown by the things he didn't get. He just carried on, which is good. He avoided that pass spiral, so all of them, I think, can hold their heads up high after good specialist subject rounds, respectable general knowledge rounds in every case. But Ian was just the better player on the night, and fair play to him. We've got a few comments coming through. Catherine, great GK rounds on Mastermind, dizzying 7 on OC. Well, we'll get onto those later. And she also says I got 5 on Beyonce, which was a decent haul really on a subject, say, which was I didn't count how many I'd got, but things like Charlie's Angels, Coachella, but half the stuff, if you haven't got the album or don't know the lyrics, it was tough. So I thought Ian did very well on that. Anything else to say about Mastermind before we move in a different direction? Just
in a strange link that it reminded me of having appeared on OnlyConnect when they reopened OnlyConnect applications to people who'd been on before. I ended up applying with a different team, which was I'll name them, myself, Andrew Teal, and Neil Harrison, and we offered the name the Sophologists, because we're all involved in elections in different ways, and we figured sophology. It's a lovely OnlyConnect type word. And they didn't have us on, and that series they had the I'm trying to think if they've called them the electioneers.
Yeah.
So they had we'd gone for the posh version and got beaten out by someone who went for the common version. I felt rather put out, but
well, as we've all talked about before, there is a weird mystery to OnlyConnect team names, apart from in your case, Emma, obviously.
We didn't push the vote out that much with us.
But but in fairness, I was in the most boringly named Only Connect match ever because series 1, which only the 8 people who watch the repeats on Dave have ever seen.
I watched it when it was live. Thank you very much.
Well, many thanks to you. But, so series 1, when they were still thinking, we want really proper links and we want nicely linked teams. So our first round match, either the second or third Only Connect match ever shown, which was county councillors versus local government ombudsman. I mean, that's Busman's holiday. That's not Only Connect.
That's one to get the juices flowing, isn't it? That's the one to put out in the magazine to really excite people to turn up. All they need was the retired civil servants versus the working civil servants, and you'd have a quiz bingo.
Yeah.
Shanine has jumped in, said, as an old dog at game shows, I cannot explain the psychology of silly answers, but at some point, your brain just goes, this is a thing. And then she said, and go with it and hope you end up in Private Eye.
And I did.
Oh, did you? Tell us about that, Emma.
Oh, God, I barely remember. It was on the final of Mastermind, so May of last year. And yeah, I was in the Dumb Britain column in there purely because I don't know much about British politics, and I can't even remember in which direction I was wrong, but I guessed Michael Howard as leader of whichever party Michael Howard isn't a member of, I can't remember. And like they put that in the magazine, and even at the time I was like, okay, I don't get it.
He's a politician. It's not...
Exactly.
I guess, yeah. And I
think I mixed up him and Michael Foot. I can't remember.
Yeah. But when you're in the chair, and again, in the grand final, it could come down to the slimmest of margins. It could come down to passes, and it all could come down to time and whether, you can squeeze an extra question in. So sometimes just saying the first thing that comes into your head is better than sitting there for 5 seconds and getting it wrong. So if it gets you into Private Eye, then... yes, who cares really? At the end of the day, you've got a game to win. Gerard says, boring names. I was in Wayfarers versus Bookworms. Well, they were a bit duller back in the day, weren't they? I mean, we were history boys and we played. What was Mark Lebet's team? I've forgotten already. Rugby boys. History boys versus rugby boys. And we wanted to be the football boys, and they wouldn't let us. It was too kind of low culture.
I would not be surprised if they entered as the Ruggerbuggers and were not allowed for.
It would not surprise me. So yes, Only Connect. So Emma is an experienced veteran of the family team, and we had the Godin family versus the Data Wizards. What is it like playing with your family on Only Connect? Is there, is it, we've got a comfortable dynamic, we understand each other, or is there kind of perhaps, you don't sit on ceremony so much and there's a little bit more tension? I mean, what is it like? I mean, I've met your dad. I can't remember if I met your mum, but,
yeah, I mean, I don't know if it's something you can generalize. Obviously, it's going to vary with the family, because I thought it was an advantage for us, but largely because we've been doing quizzes as a family my entire life. So, we kind of... It's about having kind of the family dynamic and also the quiz team dynamic and having some experience in both of them. Because, like, you can be kind of as good a family dynamic as you want and kind of work together well, but if you haven't kind of trained the skills necessary for the format, it's not going to help you that much. But it's definitely a thing, and if nothing else, it means you've got tons of time to practice if you live together.
Indeed. Somebody cunningly with the same surname as you.
Oh my God, who could that be?
It could come down to a tiebreak, but that never happens.
For clarity, this is a running thing. This was my Mastermind semi-final, which notably came down to a tiebreak and was inordinately stressful and was just really funny because at the time they were going in the green room beforehand when they were going through all the paperwork and everything. They were explaining the rules, and then they were explaining the tiebreaker rules, and another guy who was filming the episode after ours just kind of was saying, I didn't really get that. So how does that work? And I explained it, and then I said, but don't worry, because that never happens. So, of course, it immediately happened to me. So now every time it's on television and they say what a tie break is, we're just like, but that never happens.
Tie breaks on Only Connect definitely happen. I know I was in the first 2 of them.
Oh,
I have the feeling that I may be the only person ever to have won and lost an Only Connect tiebreaker. I'm not certain, but
because it all comes down to the captain, doesn't it? It's all on the captain as to whether they can see the unclued missing vowels. So did you even, because you were series 1, weren't you? Did you even have any idea what those could be? Because now we've seen a few of them. We know they tend to be kind of trite phrases like the winner takes it all or stuff like that. Did you have any idea?
So our second one was to the victor the spoils, which maybe was the first sort of properly that type of tiebreak. But no, not there's no clue word. There's just they've explained the tiebreak format beforehand, and it's perfectly straightforward. And it is so much different having missing vowels is all about, and I mean particularly tonight's one is all about that quick reaction from what is the clue word to what is the topic in front of you. And without it, it was to the victor the spoils just never came anywhere near. I was staring blankly at it. I really was. The first one, which was Albert Einstein, which I suppose was something to do with genius, was that at least sort of jumped out. But no, the other one was just completely blank staring, and took an awfully long time. I'm not sure how much of the time they must have edited down, because we were staring at it for quite a while.
All right, so they waited until one of you broke down in a gibbering heap, or one of you got it correct. It was just
I was definitely at the stage of thinking, are they gonna just leave us hanging, or
come back next morning and see if you're still there? No, brutal. I'm glad I never had one of those. I did have a Masterminds tiebreak, and never want to do that again as well. It was just horrendous. At least you won yours, Emma.
But I also very nearly didn't make it to the chair in that tiebreak, because it didn't quite make it to camera. It was just outside the field of camera, and coming back in, because I was on second, I got my walking stick tangled in the stage curtains and just nearly fell on my face in the studio, and just recovered in time to get on frame.
Wow, that could have been.
So yeah, like I say, that was a very stressful tiebreaker.
Gerard is saying when I did a tiebreaker, and this would have been on Only Connect, there were several neither of us got before the one shown on TV. So we knew the sort of phrase. I guess that's addressing your sort of thing. And of course, when you're sat there staring at it, half terrified the other person is going to get it right, it will seem like a long time, because it can do missing vowels when you're in the studio looking at it and thinking, I don't know this, I'm not going to get this, please Victoria tell them time is up, so they don't get it. It can be a horrible feeling. Not that, I mean, Emma, you're phenomenal on missing vowels. If anybody hasn't seen the final of the Connections Online Quiz League from season 1, Emma's team won, didn't they, Emma? The Frogs, was it? Am I misremembering your team name?
Crabs.
Crabs. I knew it was an animal. Damn it. But yeah, the missing vowels performance was outstanding. So we'll be interested to hear your thoughts when we get onto that for Only Connect. But round 1, any questions or connections that jumped out at you in round 1 has been particularly nice or particularly interesting?
Well, the one that messed with me was the picture question, where I very confidently picked out that the second question was Drew Barrymore.
Oh.
And I was stuck on Tiger Drew. I knew Tiger Drew something. What's his name? And of course it comes up that it's Hudson. It's right, okay, sort of fall down a hole. And the other one, the other question I liked was the two films of the same type. Yeah. That felt a really good and a good get it that early as well.
Yeah, I enjoyed that one because the the Voyage to Mars Goes Awry one, I'm not sure I would have got it on that. Likeable Ant Leaves Colony. At that point, you're thinking, oh, it's ants and bugs life, isn't it? And although the Detective Dogs one, I was thinking Tango and Cash Turner and Hooch, so I was wrong on one of those. So I'd forgotten all about K9, but that was a nice one because there was that sort of period. It does happen. I mean, I was half expecting Columbus Discovers America to come up because in 1992 there was a pair of films on that as well. But,
the second Robin Hood film from 1991 is very good.
Yeah, it's just not Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves with the soundtrack.
It's not shown on BBC One last Saturday, 30 years after it was made.
Indeed. Any for you, Emma, in that round beside those?
Just trying to remember them. This is why I should have taken some notes.
I say there was the cancelled gigs one, which I quite liked. Because Lionel Richie kissing Alex Jones and getting, was it norovirus?
Yeah, that is just top tier anecdotes.
That was stupid.
That's just Lionel Richie will never come on Only Connect, but if he did, his intro fact would be.
I once got norovirus for kissing Alex Jones on the One Show. Maroon 5 tweeting the Dalai Lama. Again, it was nice because it was different ways that things were cancelled. And then Morrissey was kind of the giveaway with his veganism, but that was a good one. We had the music round with kind of magicians and stuff like that, which was quite nice. Daughters Called Lisa, I think was a bit more of a stretch. Perhaps.
That was tough, but yeah.
Dipak Nandi. I was racking my brains to think why do I know the word Dipak Nandi? Of course I don't. I know Lisa Nandi.
I was on why do I know the word Garardini?
No, I had nothing for that. And then right before the end, they were musing, I don't know, son's name Bart. And as soon as they did, I was like, no, wait a minute.
Jared chipping in, Twin Films is easy at Clue 2. I think that was a Clue 2 point there.
I would have argued 2 and 3 should have switched, but...
Yeah. Actually, the Bays one was interesting in that Bengal and Tiger.
Bengal and Tiger, yeah.
Quite nice. Particularly as they film it in Wales. In Cardiff, in fact. So that's round 1. The Goddens were 2. The Data Wizards were 5. So it went into sequences. The absolute groaner for me was that keyboard question, because it was like, can you visualize the keyboard and then what word it's spelling out? It all hinges, I guess, on whether you get KEY, and then it's going to be
For me, I wasn't getting because I can visualize a keyboard just fine. Apparently, I just can't read because I got the 1 and the 2 the wrong way round, and I was just trying to think of what would start with EK. That doesn't make sense.
No. My favourite was Paris to Marseille. One of my 3 favourite films, and I've watched it many times, is Casablanca. So I spotted that one. Casablanca to Lisbon. Very happy with that one.
Yeah, classic sort of. Once you've got Clue 3, you know exactly where it's from. But what's the?
No, in here we were confident that this was the Paris-Dakar Rally.
Oh, that's no. I did start thinking about board games. I did start thinking about is there something with a map on it that's nah. But no, once Casablanca comes, I was okay. So this has got to be from Casablanca, but
yeah, and then it's knowing that it's the Lisbon plane that they're all trying to get on, and London wasn't a bad guess, but and actually, the Paris-Dakar rally is not a bad guess if you're trying to find a sequence that starts in Paris and
there you go, not just
Africa.
West Africa,
yeah. Indeed, Catherine says. I thought that one was about the Paris-Dakar rally. Yeah, I mean, you weren't alone, but it was that kind of that narrative intro to Casablanca that made me happy. It would have made me even happier if that had happened in a quiz I was actually playing in rather than one I was watching. That never seems to happen. And
there was the question where the numbers question where it is that that painful thing of how do I know exactly what the answer is, but how do I express it in the exact form that the question wants me to express it in?
Yeah,
I ended up with Teams brackets Premier League, but
yeah, because they kind of got away with that one with their 2020 description, didn't they? But yeah, 2.5 men.
and with
5
Ime,
guys.
which I'll now be calling it forever.
Email, yeah.
I mean, if you're gonna come up with a blag, make it a bold, brassy one, and then stick to it, and then you might just about get away with it. I think in the first round, Vicky will give that. I think in later rounds, it would be no. You've got to give the example. So we had that. We had palindromic dates. We had Britpop, Satnav, High Res, A-Rod, or A-Rod was their solution, which was the email one. But yeah, at the end of that round, 6-10, so 4 points in it. So Data Wizards have pulled ahead, and then we get the walls. And I don't know, I didn't think the walls were too brutal, but there were some misdirections in there.
Yeah.
Well, it was
the one thing that really stuck out for me was that Children of Prime Ministers thing. That seemed a really tough set. I didn't feel on balance with the other one at all.
Yeah. When you compare it to anagrams of prime ministers.
Yeah.
To remember that, like, Leo, I mean, Wilfred and Rollo, no, I think that was hard. You end up just putting a whole bunch of names in, don't you? And hoping they stick.
It's one of those where you've got to think about. I mean, again, stories of my horrors from the time on. So our team was also the first team to get nothing on a wall.
You must be very proud, Gareth. That's
sat there and stared at it for 3 minutes. 3 minutes, got absolutely nothing, and then they resolved it. And the moment they resolved it, something went wrong. Not sure what, but something technically went wrong. So we're all quickly ushered out of the room, but we've seen the resolved wall. So we then had a 5-6 minute break where we're just going through. And I think, in fairness, we would have got the 4 links while we was if we were sat there in real time. But it did give us just that extra bit of time to sit there and resolve it and at least get those 4 points for the themes, and to sit there smacking ourselves in the head saying, come on, how did we not spot famous jacks, for example? But yeah, I think sometimes you do have to think of, is this something that people are even going to get when the wall's resolved, because they might not get it. I mean, I was going to say I did like the double red herring in that they both had, both walls had
the
zodiac signs as the red herring. I felt like the Data Wizards, because the Data Wizards got that out of the way with the Ford group early, that really helped them push on and get through the wall quickly. Whereas the Goblins didn't seem to have that first group early that let them push on.
They had Ford and Age of quite, and they also spotted the snooker. Quite early. I mean, it really did help them. Whereas I think the Goblins had to work a lot harder. The Samos, Rhodesia, Capricorn, El Barade, the islands hidden within the words thing was quite tricky. The names, as we said, are tricky. They saw the man one, and I think Cinderella, Iron Man, Gemini Man, etc., and the Aqua. And I think perhaps the one thing that they struggled from was not being methodical enough on the wall, and sometimes just giving up, having a couple of goes and then just giving up rather than working through options. I mean, Gareth, you didn't have the advantage of ever having seen a wall in action. So did you have any kind of advanced sight and knowledge of how it was played, or did you really kind of go in there a bit blind?
No, really just. I mean, we had done in the audition. We had done a wall, and I think we got nothing on that either, and they still let us on the show. So bless them. But and yeah, but that really was it. There was no other. You've not seen anything else to have any sense of how it's going to play out. And yes, that technique, that technique of pick it and go around the options developed quite quickly. And yes, it's a huge advantage to have it. If you don't have it, you are.
Yeah. Although I will say in their defense that I think that's one thing that's impacted by how they're having to film it because of distancing and everything. The fact that only one person has access to the screen, like, I mean, it's in both my Connections OQL team and my own actual Only Connect team. Yeah, technique I always had was just have somebody who will just stand there and methodically do sequences and everything until something falls into place. But if only the captain can press the buttons, it's a lot tougher to do that.
Yeah, and particularly if you've got one person who's the person who knows the group and understands what the options are. If they're not the captain, then they're not able to hit the screen.
It ties up two people then, doesn't it? Whereas, in the before times, you could just have anybody all of a sudden go to and start pressing the buttons and working it out whilst the other two are thinking on the other connections. Now it eats up the captain if they don't really understand what's going on and somebody else explaining it to them. So that does kind of make it harder. Definitely. I mean, Emma, by the time you were on, you'd obviously seen how the wall was played. Did you, as a team/family, have any kind of tactics about how you would deal with it?
I'll be real. No, I feel like our main tactic on the walls was we didn't really, looking back at it, we didn't really talk to each other much. I think we were all just kind of working it out, and we were all working on different sets, and somehow it came together. I really can't explain how it worked and how we had the record for fastest wall for some years after that. Because, I say a lot about practice and stuff. I think that makes people underestimate just how chaotic we are as a family team.
Well, clearly, there's a surface level of chaos, but underneath there is some sort of synergy that was going on with your team. Again, just reinforcing that the drawback of having screens in a way, so only one pair of hands. I do think that is a real issue, because we had the option of deciding who would be the person in front of the touchpad, and that didn't have to be the captain. Here we go. Memories are flooding back now. Khaki.
All the old running jokes.
Oh dear. It's good. It brings up memories for all of us. Missing vowels. Now, it looked pretty solid for the data wizards going into this, but we've seen some really good missing vowels around this series where one team overhauled a huge deficit and won. Was it last week? A team came within 1 point of overhauling a deficit. So you can't assume anything. And I think Alice on the Godin family, she was really good on the buzzer. I'm not sure if any of the others on the team got any, but she buzzed in quite a lot. But it just wasn't enough, because the data wizards were getting enough to kind of extend their lead, because I think all three of them were kind of chipping in a little bit more. So it was. And
they picked up the crossovers as well. The Aldi Lidl particularly.
That was a toughie. The MacGuffin. How do we feel about the rock paper scissors themes? I was just disappointed that after that there was not a kind of lizard Spock.
Yeah, I was just thinking. It does bother me when three of them are linked and the other one isn't. It's just like, come on, you could have found something, surely.
Dear. But no, I mean, it was a good show. But I think we saw. I think that's the end of the first round of matches, and I think we've seen really good teams throughout Only Connect so far this series. I think it'll be interesting to see how the Godins do when they come back, because they were quite well beaten today. But let's say Alice looked a strong player. Maybe with a little bit of experience coming back the next time, they'll do better. Hopefully they will. All we want to do is see people do themselves justice, have a good time, and play well.
Absolutely.
So yeah, any final thoughts on Only Connect? No, I think we've covered pretty much everything. Right, I just want to do a quick catch up news on all things quiz. So we we put out the nominations for Quiz of the Week and Quiz Team of the Week in Quiz Week on Friday, and people have been voting, and these are the winners. Quizzer of the Week is a tie between Victoria Gross. She played in a 2-weekend tournament with 1,400 questions. She ended up winning 3 of the genres in that competition. So she earned her share of first place. Andrew Allsperger won the Learned League annual championship this year, just gone. Learned League is an online competition, played daily, 25 matches in each season, and Andrew won it. So the two of them, both Americans, both share the Quizzer of the Week award. And third is Clive Dunning, who I think it was for Quarantine Virtual Quiz League. I can't quite remember now. But well done to Clive anyway for coming third. Quiz Team of the Week. The winners were Spiral Scratch, who won the John Jacob Cup from OQL this week. So congratulations to them. Neutral MILF Hotel won the national competition in that big tournament I was just talking about that Victoria did well in. And of course, Victoria is a member of Neutral MILF Hotel. And Team Northeast won the OQL plate. So congratulations to all of them. Nominations have now reopened. And if you want to nominate anybody for a quiz team or Quizzer of the Week nomination, go to tinyurl.com/ATQ nominations. Nominations have to be in by Thursday at 5 p.m. and then we'll announce the nominations in Quiz Week. We are very likely to be changing the structure of Quiz Week soon and perhaps incorporating it into Quizzy Monday. So we'll keep you updated on that within the next week or so. But for now, nominations are Thursday. And last week, we had the answer London, which we released on Sunday morning. And we had 50-odd questions submitted. And the winner was Andrew Fraser. This week, the answer in need of a question is mate. And we've got 30 questions that have been submitted. And you can vote for your favourites from the long list to create the short list at tinyurl.com/WITQmate. So we'll whittle it down to one short list and then vote again and announce the winner in Quiz Week. So I think that's the parish notices done. I will remove that from the stream and put us back to portrait orientation and University Challenge. So Gareth, how does it feel being a Manchester alumnus tonight then? Look, I mean, we all know it's tough being on any quiz show, but Exeter were just too good tonight, weren't they?
Yeah, on balance. I mean, a lot. It felt like a match that came down to negs. Came down to your -5s, interrupting the flow, and just not. Manchester didn't get into enough starters to really put the pressure on it. There was a decent early lead, and Exeter were getting decent answers throughout. It felt quite balanced in terms of the 8. I didn't think there was a sort of a stellar buzzer particularly, but they all did the job really.
Emma, did you ever do UC? Is that the one thing missing from your CV?
Very much so. Yeah, no, I never got on it, and I have an excellent reason why, but it's a story I'm not allowed to tell on stream.
Okay. But you do play QB League, don't you?
Yes.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean the art of buzzing and this style of quiz is not unfamiliar. What were your thoughts watching the match and how it unfolded tonight?
Yeah, like you say, like you were saying, Gareth, it does just feel like Manchester just really couldn't build momentum. And once you do, it takes a lot to kind of get over having a few nags, because it can so easily just put you off buzzing altogether, even on things where even when you're sure you know that, but you don't want to risk it again, and you just it does take a lot to get over that and take the risks anyway.
What impressed me on that point about Manchester is that Stone buzzed in on a neg, and then the very next question buzzed in and got Ammonite. McCafferty buzzed in, realised he didn't know it, and went pass. The very next question buzzed in and got Alt J. You know, they were mentally robust enough to deal with the fact that actually kind of negging on TV or buzzing in and going, I'm gone blank and pass. You know, that could break you. You know, that's the sort of thing that could have you in an internal world of turmoil, not hearing the next question coming up and drifting out of the game. And I was impressed that both of those players, after negging, stayed in the game and didn't hesitate to buzz back in.
I suppose it's the difference between the UC now, the UC and the OC formats, in that only a limited number of the UC teams come back, whereas with OC everybody comes back. I almost wonder what it was like in because I don't think we haven't got full results from Bamba Gascoigne era University Challenge, where they were playing in pools and you knew you were getting a few matches. I wonder how teams fared when they did have another shot at going for it, because I was going to say that Paxo started out being very snotty about high scoring losers, and I think high scoring losers are doing quite well in the last decade or so. So, and particularly with the quarterfinal format now. I say now, it's been the quarterfinal format. I've having been on 15 years ago. I've now already become really, really old, because I played before this and I played before that.
Yeah, I mean, there is that kind of jeopardy with the first round. I think there's less of it in the next round, so I think they might get a couple of shots. But that you might as well be hanged for a sheep as for a lamb kind of thing. You know, you dive in because actually, if you're not buzzing in, you're not going to be winning the game anyway. So you've got to be somehow getting in, and I guess that it does come down a little bit, knowledge, a little bit speed, and it is that kind of mental robustness of the game seems to be getting away from you, but don't let your head drop and just keep going. And so, to their credit, they did keep going, Manchester. Yeah, but I just think Exeter were better. They were a very good team, and their buzzes came from across the team. So every player played a role. Alibi particularly really got on a run. Got some great kind of working out one. The one that I was thinking I was really tempted to buzzer race was all the numbers from 1 to 5 and how many vowels are there. And it's like, at what point do you get through that list and think, right, I'm buzzing in now because I'll have worked it out by the time I get asked to answer it. And Alibi came in with 9. So I thought that was really good work. Any other questions or bonus sets that appeal to you tonight?
Well, just my eternal regular reminder that I will at some point learn all the women associated with the French Impressionists. It comes up so often, and I never know. And in a similar vein, I think this was the first time where I shouted out Lucy Bronze, and it actually was Lucy Bronze.
I actually did that, and I know nothing about football, so God knows where that came from.
And again, we talk about canon expansion. 10 years ago, would you have had women international footballers on University Challenge? Because it was a lot more academically focused. But I thought that was really good. I thought, what's his name? The chap who buzzed in on Marta, Evans. The 2 buzzes he had were both football related. There was the In Which Year one, and as soon as the Champions League final was in, and he buzzed in on Marta. Fair play, doesn't matter what how you know it, as long as you get in. But yeah, Marta, Megan Rapinoe, Lucy Bronze, and the Dutch player whose name Van Dijk went for.
Martins, isn't it?
Martins,
was I thought that was good. It was a good welcome diversion. Because there was plenty of stuff like German song cycles and opera, and I did quite like unrelated laureates. I thought that was quite nice. Persian Dynasties is about as old school University Challenge as you can get. So
I went 3 for 3 on that purely from these are things I've heard at Quiz Bowl, and when you do a bonus set on Persian Dynasties, these are the 3 you say. Which order is it going to be in?
Once again, call back to, have you been playing Civilization recently, or now have you been playing Humankind recently? Yeah.
Yeah.
The thing I was going to say that I really noticed is just, and I know I hate to say it, but Jeremy has got a lot slower. He really has. It's unavoidable. The thing I noticed tonight was it's the response to the buzzes. No, there one of the Manchester Negs was a question where he read the whole of the question before. The buzz was 6 or 7 words before the end of the question, and he read the whole question before he responded to it, gave them the neg, but then had nothing else to read out, which I almost thought for a second threw Exeter, because I think it felt like they were expecting there to be more question, and it took them a second. I think they got the buzz in the end.
I think there were a couple of times where that happened, where the buzz came. He finished reading it whilst Roger Tilling was shouting the name of the competitor, and then when it was like no, it was like I hadn't heard the rest of the stuff, so the rest of the question, so the other team hadn't. I think the difficulty with talking about Paxman now is knowing that he's got Parkinson's. The slow speech is not something he can do something about. When John Humphreys was slowing down in his speech, it's like, no, he could do something about that. He could have sped up. He could have asked more questions. I think with Paxman, I think we have to kind of be accepting of the fact that this is the situation. Hopefully, it's the same for all teams. There will be variations. But we are having quite a low-scoring season so far, and maybe part of that is due to the speed of reading. But I think that is something that you can't hold him to account for. I do think there is something that the producers should be doing about, let's say, when somebody buzzes and he continues reading, and Roger Tilling is shouting, and the other team can't hear what the end of the question is, about making sure they can hear the end of the question. And maybe they did. For all we know, maybe he reread the end of the question and they still didn't know, for all we know. But that's the one thing that's slightly uncomfortable. Catherine's asked a question: will that verbal speed improve now he's getting treatment? Honestly, don't know, Catherine. My knowledge of Parkinson's is not sufficient to be able to answer that question. I'm hoping that he's been diagnosed and he's being treated, and we'll have kind of the optimum kind of response to that. But quite what it means for University Challenge, we'll see. Will we see him back again next series? I don't know. It will be interesting to find out. But yeah, he's reading slow. We know there's a medical reason for it. I think we kind of have to give him a pass on that. But the other stuff, perhaps that's more for the producers to kind of sort out in the interest of fairness to both teams. I'm just looking. There was a lot of comment about the captaincy of Irving from Manchester. A lot of her looking at people going options, and I thought that was pretty decent captaincy.
Yeah.
We talked about this
Absolutely.
stuff before. You haven't got a lot of time, particularly if you're behind. You don't want to spend a lot of time. She just wants, give me something. Let me consider what there is. And I thought that was pretty solid.
I think we've had that. Certainly, I think for Manchester, I think that has been the philosophy always. Not. I think there's an assumption in the outside world that your captain should be your strongest quizzer and should be the person who is chuntering away. And actually, I think that can hurt you sometimes, because if you are the strong person and you are also the captain, there can be a tendency to just jump in and blurt out an answer without actually taking any input. So I think taking options is exactly where you want them to be.
Yeah, because if it was just about having your strongest player in front, it'd be an individual format. It's a team format, so you need to play it as a team, and your captain needs to be the one who can kind of best act as a conduit for everybody else as well.
And her asking for options doesn't mean that she hasn't also got an idea. It's just she wants to hear what everybody else is saying. And their conversion rate kind of varied depending on what the bonus set was on. But yeah, I thought that wasn't at all bad. And say Persian dynasties, they did all right on. Yeah, it wasn't the closest match, and it wasn't it didn't feel like there was it didn't feel in the balance really from quite early on. It felt Exeter were ahead.
No, it was a chunky gap, but it wasn't. I think it was a chunky gap that then stayed about where it was, and just maybe pulled a couple back towards the end. But it wasn't. It wasn't like it was after the second. It was after the second picture question. It wasn't quick enough that it was going to be. It was going to be decisive. So
I think in his closing segment, Jeremy called it a hotly fought match, and I think everybody in the house here immediately just went, "Was it though?"
Really, it was. But you can have two relatively evenly matched teams, as we've said before. But if one is fractionally quicker on the buzzer, they're going to look like they're way better than the other one. So it's unfortunate for Manchester. And Manchester, Gareth, to your knowledge, still managed by Stephen Pearson.
Indeed, and I mean, I think it's. I suspect it's the thing of having a real critical mass of successive years. Because certainly towards the end of that run, I mean, Manchester's 4 wins were 2006 to 2012-13, and by the end of that run, the 2013 team were practicing against 2 teams who'd won before, members of teams who'd won. And being close previously, and you've got so much competition and so much good quality practice as well. I think that's really difficult to build up. I think a lot of universities now playing Quiz Bowl and getting that experience that way.
But interestingly, we had last year's Durham team on last week, and they were saying that the interesting thing for their team this year was in studio was probably the first time they all actually quizzed together physically in the same space. And that is even doing it online is a very different experience from quizzing, in the same room, spending a Sunday afternoon just bashing away at the buzzer and going through old Quiz Bowl packets and that sort of thing. It's just not the same as being facing a team across a studio or in the same room and playing them. So again, in your day, Manchester begat Manchester, and it was kind of a self-replicating thing. You break that chain a little bit, and it becomes harder to get that momentum going.
Yeah, so I mean the hovering hands thing. I mean, you will always, in a physical buzzer quiz, you will have a hand hovering, just sort of, to tell the other players on your team, I'm going to be close to this, or I think I'm going to be the person who's going to be getting this. And yeah, if you've never had that experience and never had that, just that sense of what people will know, you can feel like, I mean, if you know that there's a question that comes up that is going to be in that person's wheelhouse, you can be more relaxed on the buzzer. Whereas if you don't have that knowledge, that experience of your teammates, then you may feel more pressured to go for something that you didn't need to go for.
Emma, you tempted to kind of get your mum, dad, and another family member to go to university somewhere so you can do UC as a group?
I don't know, to be honest. I think, I don't think my family would be nearly as up for going on UC as I would, is the thing. Like, I've been to Quiz Bowl tournaments with them before, and it didn't go great. Different people work in different formats, but I've long been tempted to go and, if I end up doing an open university course, it will be, I'll be honest, 98%, so I can go on University Challenge.
And so say all of us.
Yeah.
Indeed. Well, look, thanks, Gareth. Thanks, Emma, for joining us this week for Quizzy Monday. Thanks, everybody who's watched and commented. Sorry, haven't been really keeping up with a lot of the comments. I see you've been amusing yourselves with discussions about Rolos, so that's fine. There's always something. At least it's not S Club 7 this week. But thank you to everybody for watching, and say Gareth and Emma. But just don't forget that coming up this week, we have every day on Twitter, we've got lunchtime quiz time. We release a question at 12, and we give the answer and some extra information at 2 o'clock, so you can play along with that. Don't forget to vote in the vote for what is the question, with the answer being mate. That's tinyrl.com/ WITQ mate, I think, is the address.
Yeah.
We'll put it in the description. Oh, just about remembered that one. Don't forget, you can nominate somebody for Quiz of the Week, Quiz Team of the Week at tinyrl.com/ATQ nominations. And we'll be back next week on Quizzy Monday. And next week, we have 2 of the current players from Imperial, I believe. And we have Jay Flynn, who last night unfortunately fell short due to a technical fault in trying to break the world record early this morning for the longest online pub quiz. But he is a Jay of Jay's virtual pub quiz. He's coming on as well to pick over everything and have a chat to us. So that should be a really good episode with a couple of fresh university challenge competitors, and Jay giving his perspective. So we'll be back next Monday, and we hope to see you next Monday. Until then, have a great week. Goodbye.